Law of the sea refers to the rules and principles that govern the states in their maritime matters. Main principles in law of the sea includes freedom, sovereignty, and common heritage of mankind. Based on Article 38, Clause 1 of the Statute of International Court of Justice, stated that the primary sources of international law includes international conventions and international custom. Law of the Sea Convention 1982 also set the limit of various areas measured from a carefully defined baseline. The areas was divided into internal waters, territorial waters, archipelagic waters, contiguous zone, exclusive economic zones, and continental shelf. Each area has a specific features that differentiates the jurisdiction governed by the flag states. This presentation will discuss more about the jurisdiction of exclusive economic zone and contiguous zones along with related cases.
Now we'll discuss about EEZ and its jurisdiction. The Economic Exclusive Zone, EEZ, is an area beyond and adjacent to territorial sea. It was begun from the Truman Proclamation in 1945 concerning the natural resources of the subsoil and seabed of the continental shelf in the United States. Based on Article 57 of the 1982 Convention, a state may claim an EEZ that does not extend 200 nautical miles from the baseline in which the breadth of the territorial sea is measured. Under the EEZ jurisdiction, based on Article 56, a coastal state has the exclusive right to exploit or conserve any resources found within the water on the seafloor or under seafloor subsoil. The resources consist of living resources such as fish and non-living resources such as oil and natural gas. Article 73, Section 1 also allows the coastal states the power of enforcement jurisdiction over foreign ships, including boarding, inspection, arrest, and bringing them to judicial proceedings if needed to ensure the compliance with the laws and regulations. Regarding the rights and duties of other states in this zone, according to Article 58, it is stated that all states, whether coastal or landlocked, can enjoy the freedoms of navigation and overflight. The right of laying submarine cables and pipelines and other internationally lawful uses of the sea was related to the freedoms under Article 87. Contrary to the contiguous zone, the EEZ only has rights to the mentioned resources and the law enforcement to protect the rights. The coastal state cannot provide limited freedom of navigation and overflight over foreign ships because of minimal subject exception.
So I will explain on the contiguous zone. Briefly explain, the contiguous zone is a zone between the territorial sea and the high sea that extends the coastal state enforcement jurisdiction to a maximum of 24 nautical miles from baseline in order to prevent or punish violation of customs, fiscal, immigration, or sanitary, and thus residual national security legislation. If we're looking on its jurisdiction, Part 2 of the UN Convention on the Law of the Sea UNCLOS describes that the jurisdiction of contiguous zone in terms of territorial sea and contiguous zone, where Section 4 of Article 33 stated that the coastal state may exercise control over a zone contiguous to its territorial sea, known as the contiguous zone, in order to prevent infringement of its custom, fiscal, immigration, or sanitary laws and regulation within its territorial sea, and punish violation of the information law and regulation committed within its territory or territorial sea. The second one is the contiguous zone may not extend further than 24 nautical miles from the baseline from which the territorial sea breadth is measured. In addition, Article 3 of the same part stated that each state has the right to determine the breadth of its territorial sea up to a limit of 12 nautical miles measured from baseline determined in accordance with this convention. So what can be said that states may create a contiguous zone extending from the outer edge of their territorial sea to a maximum of 24 nautical miles from the baseline. This zone exists to strengthen a state's law enforcement capacity and keep criminals from fleeing into the territorial sea. A state has the right to prevent and punish violation of fiscal, immigration, sanitary, and custom law within its territory and territorial sea within the contiguous zone. The contiguous zone only grants a state jurisdiction over the ocean surface and floor. It does not authorize air or space rights.
So before we move on to the effects faced by a contiguous zone caused by EEZ, it is crucial for us to look into some decided cases regarding this matter. So we choose the Saiga cases, where the MV Saiga was an oil tanker flying the flag of San Vincent and the Grenadines. At the time of the incident, the MV Saiga served as a bunkering vessel supplying fuel oil of fishing vessels and the other vessels operating at the coast of China. And the MV Saiga have been crossed the maritime boundary between China and Guinea-Bissau and through the exclusive economic zone of China at the Guinean island. So on the next day, MV Saiga was arrested by Guinean custom patrol boats. In this case, China claimed that the bunkering took place in its contiguous zone, while China in its oral statement also accused that the arrest of the MV Saiga was legitimate as it is executed at the conclusion of hot pursuit following a violation of the custom law in the contiguous zone of China. Saint Vincent and the Grenadines also alleged that Guinean authority has no jurisdiction to take such action. This because that China failed to notify the flag state of the reason for the detention, and the Guinean also did not comply with the Article 73, Paragraph 2 of the Convention, according to which arrested vessel and their crews shall be promptly released upon the posting of reasonable bond or their authority. So finally, ICLOS held that China had no right under UNCLOS to exercise custom laws in EEZ, and ICLOS also found that the arrest of the vessel and her crew was a violation to the right of the Saint Vincent and the Grenadines, and it shall be released and MV Saiga and the crew from the detention.
Part 5 of the UNCLOS established the exclusive economic zone, an area beyond the territorial sea with the breadth of 200 nautical miles, or if the continental shelf extends beyond that limit as far out as 350 nautical miles, states have sole right over the exploitation of all resources in their EEZ. Therefore, it can be seen that if the coastal state already claimed for exclusive economic zone, the contiguous zone doesn't have any right left, as the EEZ itself refers to the ocean area beyond territorial sea and out to 200 nautical miles. To understand well, if we look the case of Saint Vincent and the Grenadines against Guinea, which mentioned by my friend before, in this case, Guinea arrests the Saiga and the crew on the ground that the Saiga activities are violation of customs law in the contiguous zone of Guinea. But if we look again, Guinea as the coastal state already claimed for EEZ. Therefore, all the area from the territorial sea until out of 200 nautical miles is considered as EEZ. Thus, there is no right to claim with the law of a contiguous zone, as the area is already regarded as EEZ. If the state does not claim the area of the exclusive economic zone, then it only has the jurisdiction on the contiguous zone. In the other words, it is not the zone ab initio the coastal state need to claim for it. However, some of the coastal states do not claim for it because they do not see any advantage in claiming it. For example, in decided cases mentioned before, we can see that the coastal state cannot implement its jurisdiction over contiguous zone since it has already claimed for EEZ.
To summarize everything that has been stated so far, it is important for us to understand the jurisdiction of exclusive economic zone and contiguous zone to prevent the breachment of international law of the sea. The jurisdictions and rules that had been lined up by the United Nations should be obliged by all the member states to prevent maritime disputes among state members. The rights of coastal states to regulate and exploit areas of the oceans under their jurisdictions are one of the foundation of the law of the sea conventions. These rights need to be balanced with the freedom of navigation and access to resources outside state control. We hope with the establishment of the law of the sea could maintain the peace and prosperity of the world's ocean. That's all from us. Thank you.